The last year of the century. The last year before the world changed. Before everything became wireless and digital. Before faces glowed blue from screens. And before the silence in a room was something you could actually feel. Back then, homes were quieter. Nights were darker. And in a small, almost invisible town in southern Ohio, something happened that no one ever fully explained. A story buried under static, forgotten by time, but not by the people who heard it. My name is Viraj, and this is the Horror Guy podcast. If you've been with me long enough, you know I don't tell stories for jump scares or for fun. I tell them because some stories don't want to stay buried. This one came to me from an old recording. A dusty cassette in a plastic shoebox mailed to a closed-down post office in Dayton. No return address. Just a single note inside. We didn't believe her. We should have. The tape had no label. But when I played it, I heard the voice of a girl. She sounded young, maybe 17. She was scared, out of breath, whispering into the mic. What she described sounded unbelievable. Until I started doing the research. Her name was Erin Lowe. And in the fall of 1999, she lived in a town called Darien Hollow. Population under 1,000. A few diners, one mechanic shop, a high school football team that hadn't won a game in 4 years, and a radio tower. A single, rusted antenna bolted to the roof of the municipal building. Back then, Erin didn't have internet. Nobody in town did. She didn't have a phone. She barely had friends. Most nights, she sat in her bedroom with the door closed, taping songs off the radio. Not because she was obsessed with music, but because the silence in her house made her nervous. You see, her mother worked nights at a 24-hour diner out on Route 12. Her father had passed a year earlier in a car accident no one liked to talk about. Erin had no siblings. So when the sun went down and the house got quiet, the only voice in the room came from her radio. Her favorite station was 107.4 FM, a local broadcast that played soft rock, Midnight Confessions, and old call-ins from years ago. But on October 17th, 1999, something changed. That night, the station didn't play music. There was no DJ, no ads, not even the usual background hum. Just static. For a long time, Erin thought the tower had gone down. She even reached for the tape deck to stop recording. When suddenly the static cut off, and a voice came through. Male. Calm. Unnaturally clear. It didn't sound like a recording or a live host. It didn't even sound like it belonged on the radio. Erin would later describe it as a voice that felt like it was already inside her head before it came out of the speaker. And the voice said this: Angela, November 3rd, purple coat, empty parking lot, 10:41 p.m. Then silence, just a click. No explanation, no number to call, no sign-off. The broadcast just stopped. Erin was confused. She checked the tuner, still on 107.4. No other stations were bleeding through. She thought maybe it was a prank, someone hijacking the signal. But it didn't feel like a joke. It felt clinical, like someone reading out a file. She rewound the tape, played it again. The same voice, the same name. She didn't know anyone named Angela, but she wrote it down. Purple coat, empty lot, November 3rd. And then she forgot about it until 2 weeks later, November 4th. A woman named Angela Keener, 28 years old, was reported missing by her boyfriend. Last seen leaving her late shift at a pharmacy just outside Darien Hollow. Her car was found abandoned in the parking lot. Engine off. Purse still inside. Security cameras caught nothing but the timestamp from her last receipt, 10:41 p.m. She was wearing a purple coat. After that night, Erin couldn't sleep properly. She tried to tell herself it was just a coincidence, that it wasn't the same Angela, that it wasn't the same parking lot, that it couldn't possibly be the same voice she had taped 2 weeks earlier. But part of her knew better. She started leaving her tape recorder running every night, not just when she listened to music, but when the radio was silent, or buzzing, or full of static. She even set an alarm to check the station at random times, just in case. And then, just 6 days later, it happened again. Same station, same stillness, same shift in the air, no intro, just that cold, clinical voice, like a doctor reading from a file. Except there was something even more detached about it, like it wasn't meant for human ears. David, November 12th, yellow baseball cap, broken vending machine, alone, 2:13 a.m. Click. Silence. This time, Erin didn't wait. She wrote it down in her notebook. She rewound the tape 3 times, transcribed the cadence of the words. She didn't sleep that night. And the next morning, she walked to the town library, checked every local paper, looked for any mention of a David. Nothing. Not until 4 days later. The body of a man, David Keller, was found inside the abandoned high school gymnasium just outside town. He was last seen by a night shift janitor at a gas station, trying to get a soda out of a broken vending machine. The CCTV showed him wearing a yellow cap. The timestamp? 2:12 a.m. Erin didn't cry. She didn't tell anyone. She just stared at her notebook. Now with 2 names, 2 descriptions, and 2 perfect predictions. All from that same voice on 107.4 FM. That's when she stopped listening to music and started listening only for him. The voice. The one she now called the Radio Man. And here's the part that makes this more than just a weird local legend. Because Erin didn't just keep a notebook. She started recording every transmission, hundreds of hours. And as the tapes piled up, the names kept coming. Sometimes once a week, sometimes 2 in a night. Always the same structure. Name, description, time, silence. And then one night, in early December, the pattern changed. The voice came through as usual. But this time, he didn't just say the name. He spoke directly to Erin. "You're listening again, aren't you?" She froze. The room went cold. The voice continued. "You've been recording me. Writing it down. Good. Keep listening." Then a long pause. The longest she had ever heard. Almost a full minute of silence. And then he said, "Erin, December 19th. Window open. 12:04 a.m. Alone." The tape cut off. When Erin rewound the recording and played it back, her hands were shaking. She had left the window open, just a crack, to let out the smell from a candle. Her notebook fell from her lap. Her skin went numb. And for the first time, she considered smashing the radio with a hammer and burning the tapes. But she didn't. Instead, she taped the window shut. She pushed her dresser in front of the door, and she stayed awake the entire night, staring at the red numbers on her alarm clock, waiting for them to hit 12:04 a.m. When they did, nothing happened. No footsteps, no knock, just silence. But she knew it wasn't over. She knew that whoever, or whatever, was behind the voice had turned its eyes on her. And that's when Erin made a decision. If she was going to survive whatever this was, she had to find the source, the signal, the tower, anything. Because Darien Hollow was small. It only had one radio transmitter. And the people who managed it? They said no one was broadcasting at 107.4. By mid-December, Erin Lowe had recorded over 9 transmissions. All of them followed the same structure. Name, date, description, time. And every single one had led to a disappearance. Sometimes a missing person, sometimes a body, always alone, always just gone. The police never saw the pattern, or maybe they didn't want to. After all, what would they even say? Sorry, we think your son's death was predicted by a disembodied voice over FM radio. Erin tried showing them the tapes. They said it was doctored, that she was traumatized, that it was probably grief talking. But Erin didn't care anymore. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She was trying to stop it. The night after the voice said her name, Erin, December 19th, window open, 12:04 a.m. She made a decision. She would go to the source. She knew where the signal was coming from. Or at least, she thought she did. There was only one radio tower in Deshin Hollow. A short steel structure bolted behind the old municipal building. It had been installed sometime in the 70s and hadn't been updated since. It was supposed to be maintained by a man named Gerald Fenn, who worked part-time as the station technician. Erin had seen him once or twice. Long gray coat, cigarette always burning, eyes that never quite focused. On December 18th, she walked through the freezing dark at 2 a.m. and found Gerald's truck outside the station. The door to the small building was unlocked. Inside, there were no lights, just old equipment, tape decks, analog dials, a rotary phone mounted to the wall, and an overwhelming smell of burnt plastic and dust. She called out. No answer. What she did see, though, was a light, a faint red one, blinking from an old transmitter labeled backup channel. Underneath it, a handwritten sticker. 107.4, do not use. The switch was already on. And here's where the facts get blurry, or maybe too sharp. Because according to Erin's final tape, which I now hold in my hand, she didn't flip the switch. She didn't touch anything. But the moment she stepped toward that blinking light, the broadcast began. And this time the voice didn't say someone else's name. It spoke directly to her. You shouldn't be here, Erin. She froze. You heard them. You wrote them down. Now you're part of them. Then, silent. And then, December 20th. Cassette tape. Wooden box. Buried in dirt. 1:14 a.m. That was the last anyone ever heard from Erin Lowe. The next morning she was gone. Her house was locked from the inside. Her window taped shut. Her bed made, but she wasn't there. The police searched the area. Found nothing. But weeks later, a local boy digging behind his father's shed found a small wooden box. Inside it, a cassette tape, marked in her handwriting. Play me. That's the tape I received 2 decades later, sent anonymously, with no note, no return address. The same tape I played at the beginning of this story. And here's the part that chills me more than anything else. That tape? It didn't just contain Erin's final message. It had more voices, more names. Not old ones, new ones. Matthew, July 6th, headphones on, 10:22 p.m. Leah, August 4th, back at the bus, no signal. And then, Viraj, November 17th. Recording alone, talking too much. Listeners nearby. When I heard that, I stopped the tape. I didn't sleep that night. I still don't know who sent me that cassette, or why, but I keep it in a locked drawer. Not because I want to hide it, but because I think someone, or something, wants it to keep playing. You see, the radio man isn't just a voice on a forgotten frequency. He's something older than that. A pattern, a ritual, a system that needs listeners, needs recorders, needs names. And once you hear him, once you really hear him, you're part of the transmission forever. If this story made you sit still, made you feel like someone else might be listening in with you, if it followed you into the silence after the episode ended, then don't just walk away. Share this story. Let someone else hear what you heard. Because some stories don't go quiet until they're passed on. And if something like this has ever happened to you, if you've seen something, heard something, or felt something no one else believed, your story matters too. The email is in the description. Send it in, and if it chills us, we'll tell it here. Right here. On the Horror Guy podcast. Your voice, your story, our silence. Until next time, don't touch that dial.